So here we are, back at it again. And I know it's the baseball playoffs. There's not going to be any more call-ups or anything like this. I am not setting up a stage for players you want to jump on in the next couple of days. I'm setting up what we've got for the Cincinnati Reds and their top 10 prospects moving forward for the next couple of seasons and who I've got ranked in those spots. I realize some of you have had questions about where I placed people in lists before and want to banter back and forth on there, and I love it. I appreciate it. It allows me to do some research, correct some things that I may have needed to correct, update some things that may have needed to be updated, which is generally the biggest problem. But right now we are going to be kicking off the Cincinnati Reds. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you guys agree. Let me know if I missed somebody. You guys just let me know and we'll just ride along with it. So we're going to kick these lists off just like we always do. I'm going to start off with a couple of players that some people might have had in their list and that I might not necessarily agree with. So we're going to kick that list off, and that's going to be the first player on here is Matt McLain. McLain was a first-round pick in the 2021 draft out of UCLA, where he made the Pac-12 All-Conference team, hitting .333 over 183 at-bats. He has solid speed and a great knack for base stealing, having only been thrown out 3 times in 30 attempts. His defense is solid, and he tends to only have rare hiccups in the field, but they do come in clusters. So you may be thinking he sounds pretty solid and should be a huge star. Why would you leave him off this list? Especially being that he is the number 5 prospect in the Reds organization. My concern with him is not his power. He hit 17 home runs this year, nor his speed, obviously, stealing 27 bases. His on-base percentage is actually pretty solid, mainly due to the good eye that he has at the plate, walking 70 times in 103 games. So what can it be? Well, there's really 3 reasons. His 127 strikeouts in 103 games and his .232 batting average are 2 of those reasons. The third reason, the fact, like a lot of these organizations we've covered, there are 3 other top 5 prospects that all play shortstop in the Reds organization. This kind of leaves the 23-year-old McLain left holding a bag in the middle of a phenom and AA with him and 2 all-star caliber shortstops behind him. It's a long road for McLain. He's played a few games at second base, which in the future may help open some doors for him, but for now he's wedged in a tough spot, like an air duct in Nakatomi Plaza. So the next player that we left off the list was Andrew Abbott, and this was definitely one of the more difficult decisions of who to leave off the list and who to make the list. Both Abbott and the number 10 player on this list are pretty much equal in my eyes. The fact that Abbott has struggled after being called up to AA pushed him off this list just barely. If he finds the magic he had in Dayton, he will make this list in no time, but for now, he has some things to work on. Abbott has that big strikeout arm, striking out 8+ in 9 of his 24 starts. But with that, since moving to AA, came 7 3+ walk games. Add that to the .248 batting average given up since the call-up, and it helped me make the decision to leave the Reds' number 10 prospect off this list. Again, it was very close, but the 6'6" and slightly more polished number 10 pitcher just squeezed it out above Abbott. And that number 10 player is Brandon Williamson. He's in AAA. He's a starting pitcher. Like I said, he's 6'6", 210 pounds, and he's 24 years old. His 2022 stats were he was 6-7 with a 4.11 ERA, a 1.56 WHIP, 123 strikeouts, and 122 and 2/3 innings pitched. Again, Williamson is tall, standing 6'6", although he's not the strikeout machine this season that you would expect, or especially if you compare him to Abbott. Williamson came over in the Winker Suarez deal from the Mariners and was a big piece in that trade. He did come with a little early injury concerns, such as a hip injury that required surgery, but looked great in his first full season in 2021, striking out 153 batters and 98 in the 3rd innings, with a 3.39 ERA. This season, like Abbott, has come with a few speed bumps as he climbs the ranks, and those strikeout numbers have decreased when he's facing better talent. He has only struck out 123 batters in 122 and 2/3 innings, and has walked 77 batters in those innings. If he can regain command of those 4 pitches and continue increasing his speed on his fastball, which is currently topping out about 96 miles an hour, he will find himself moving up quickly, as big lefties are generally a premium in baseball. The move up to AAA saw the biggest fall off on his K ratio, but his ERA actually came down ever so slightly. He has all the potential you could hope for, and maybe a number 2 or number 3 starter, but he has to work on that command. His changeup and his hip, hoping that it doesn't flare back up and cause some setbacks. Look for him to get a shot at the rotation in 2023. Number 9 is Cade Hunter. He's in single A. He's a catcher. He's 6'2", 200 pounds, and he's 21 years old. His 2022 stats were a little limited, but he was hitting 341 with 3 home runs, 13 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, a 1.132 OPS, and 41 at-bats. Cade Hunter comes from a solid line of athletes. His father, Scott, is the director of amateur scouting for the Seattle Mariners, played 10 seasons professionally for many different teams, although never really cracked the big leagues. And his great-grandfather played AHL hockey. So he definitely has a good bloodline. He showed above average power at Virginia Tech, hitting 3 home runs in 18 games in 2021 and had 3 multi-hit games and only 7 starts the season before. But his 2022 college season was where he really made his mark, playing in 58 games, hitting .330 with 17 home runs and 11 stolen bases. After being signed at the end of the college season, Hunter continued his hot hitting in rookie ball and in single A Dayton, hitting .341 with 3 home runs and 3 stolen bases in 14 games. Power hitting catchers are a premium, and if they have a little bit of speed to boot, they're even more highly coveted. The Reds have some decent catchers in their system, including Stevenson in the majors, but with most catchers and programs, health is always a concern at the backstop position. So he may find a spot early on. If he can continue to develop his power and keep the speed, the Reds will find innings for him in no time. Number 8 is Edwin Arroyo. He's in single A. He's a shortstop. He's 6 foot tall. He's 175 pounds and he's 19 years old. Arroyo's 2022 stats were hitting .293 with 14 home runs, 84 RBIs, 27 stolen bases, 846 OPS, and 467 at-bats. Arroyo was one of the pieces in the Luis Castillo trade, with Seattle hoping to shore up some of their starting rotation. He came over with fellow shortstop Noelvi Marte and has taken a spot below him in the minor league depth chart. Arroyo features some of the same talent as Marte, with power, speed, and good defense, however is a year younger and a little bit smaller. Arroyo's only stumbling block was a tough August where he hit 158, but every other month he hit over 300, except he hit 288 in April, and ended September by hitting 320 that month. Arroyo will face the hurdle of having Marte and other talented shortstops ahead of him, so he may end up being another big trade piece in a future trade deal. He may also have to move to another position to acquire a few more at-bats. He has played a few games at shortstop, but with him in single A, Marte in high A, and De La Cruz in double A, look for the 3 of them to move in lockstep up the farm system. Number 7 is Christian Roa. He's in double A. He's a starting pitcher. He's 6'4", 220 pounds, and he's 23 years old. His 2022 stats were going 6-3 with a 3.56 ERA, a 1.31 WHIP, 102 strikeouts, and 91 innings. The Reds have been slowly stretching Roa out. He has a big league arm, and he is big, standing 6'4". Roa has 4 above average pitches, all with solid movement. But until 2021, he had never really been more than a reliever. His fastball tops out at around 97, but it is most effective when he's in the 94 to 95 range. Towards the end of 2022, he was regularly being extended to 5 or 6 innings, which is where the Reds are comfortable with him at right now. He spent part of 2021 and 2022 on the IL with a right elbow strain and a sports hernia, respectively. So his progress has been very steady to get him up to a quality start type pitcher. Keeping hitters below 200 this season has been nice, but the Reds would like to see him cut down on the walks and bring down the 1.31 WHIP. If he can remain effective at 6 innings and keep the strikeout numbers above 1 an inning, he will be on a lot of people's radar for a 2024 rotation spot or even a late 2023 call-up. Number 6, and I hope that I say this right so that I do not offend anyone or I'm booted off of YouTube or something, but it is Ryan Nutov. He's in AAA. He's a relief pitcher. He's 6'2". He's 190 pounds, and he's 26 years old. His 2022 stats were he was 6-2 with a 3.05 ERA, a 1.49 WHIP. He had 2 saves, 17 holds, 67 strikeouts, and 59 innings. I mean, really, I just wanted a shot at saying the name. Let's be honest. Nutov is a bit of an older pitcher, but he is in AAA and has seemed to pitch better every season. His walks were way up this year, causing a higher than expected WHIP, but he was able to keep those runners from scoring as much as you would have expected. The strikeouts are decent and have remained consistent throughout his career. Nutov did have Tommy John surgery in 2021 and is still building full arm strength, but if he can continue to keep those runners from scoring and can cut down significantly on those walks, he could be a regular in the Reds bullpen as early as next season. His path to the bigs and numbers draws a lot of comparison to Alexis Diaz, who had a terrific season for the Reds bullpen, going 7-3 with a 1.84 ERA. Nutoff is eligible for the Rule 5 draft, but I think the Reds may add him to the 40-man roster and protect him. And number 5 is the aforementioned Noelvi Marte. He's in high A. He's a shortstop. He's 6'1", 181 pounds, and he's 20 years old. His 2022 stats were hitting .279 with 19 home runs, 68 RBIs, 23 stolen bases, and 829 OPS, and 448 at-bats. As previously mentioned, Marte came over in the Luis Castillo deal from the Mariners. Before the trade to get Christian Encarnacion-Strand, there was talk of Marte, who is still filling out, moving to third. It may have been a better path then for Marte, but for now his path to the bigs may be a little more difficult. The Reds have been playing De La Cruz a little at third base also, which may have opened up a shortstop opportunity, but with CES there is no longer a case for that. Marte features above average power and seems to be adding more as he goes along, and his plus speed stealing bases. His strikeouts have come down this year, which is good to see, but his walks have also fallen off a little. Finding time is going to be Marte's biggest concern with all the talent in the Reds organization in the middle infield, or infield period. Number 4 is Joe Boyle. He's in Double-A. He's a starting pitcher. He's 6'7", 240 pounds, and he's 23 years old. His 2022 stats was going 3-6 with a 2.86 ERA, a 1.29 WHIP, 153 strikeouts, and 100.2 innings. Boyle is the Nuke LaLoosh of this organization. Walked 18, struck out 18, hit the Bull mascot twice, all new league records. He is a giant of a man, standing 6'7" and weighing 240 pounds, and he touches the radar gun in the upper 90s. He is going to strike out a lot of hitters, but will walk just as many. His 153 strikeouts this year is impressive, but if you throw in there his 84 walks, the story seems a little different. He doesn't give up a lot of hits, shown by his 141 opponent batting average this season, so it's either a walk or a strikeout. If he can somehow figure out how to control that thing and maybe keep a few pitches out of the press box, he will be a force for years to come. He really only features a fastball and a slider, but the slider is really like a box of chocolates. If the Reds can add him another reliable pitch and get him consistent, look for the big man to make an MLB debut soon. And that brings us to number 3 on the list. That is Alex McGarry. He's in Triple-A. He's a first baseman. He's 6'2", 202 pounds, and he's 24 years old. In 2022, he hit .264 with 27 home runs, 78 RBIs, 15 stolen bases, and 859 OPS, and 416 at-bats. McGarry, you guys know I'm terrible with names, and it's been a tongue twister this whole video. Had a breakout season this year with the long ball, hitting 27 home runs. But as they say, with great power comes great strikeouts. Is that the right phrase? He struck out 136 times in 110 games this year. But either way, he has shown solid power this season. Not that was completely out of nowhere, because he did hit 11 home runs and 295 at-bats last year. Normally playing behind Joey Votto in Cincinnati would be a death sentence. But with the Reds' injury concerns with Votto and some of their other veterans, it may only be a matter of time before Cincinnati starts looking for spot fillers from within their organization. With the NL having the DH now, at-bats for a power-hitting first baseman are far easier, even when you're behind a Hall of Famer. If the Reds go into spring training with some injuries, or even some injury concerns, look for McGarry to get a look. McGarry has a lot of speed, especially for a first baseman, so that may help his case, stealing 15 bases this last year. And number 2 is one of the players that I am very high on, and that is Christian Encarnacion-Strand. He's in Double-A. He plays third base. He's 6 foot, 224 pounds, and he's 22 years old. His 2022 stats were hitting .304 with 32 home runs, 114 RBIs, 8 stolen bases, a .955 OPS, and 484 at-bats. CES, as we'll call him, is the real deal and came over in the Tyler Mahle deal from the Twins. I loved him in Minnesota, but had some hesitation with him hitting in that ballpark in Minnesota. But in Cincinnati, those concerns are gone. The Reds are hurting for third base help, especially with all the veteran injuries this year. CES can fill that void. Not that Kyle Farmer hasn't been admirable at third, but CES's power is undeniable, and he has a little bit of speed to boot, but I wouldn't count on him being more than a 10 stolen base guy. He should have every opportunity to play third base for the Reds next season and for the future, and projects out to being a 40 home run hitter, especially in that ballpark. In any other program, he would be number one on this list. Number one, and it is probably no surprise to anyone, is Elly De La Cruz. He's in Double-A. He's a shortstop. He's 6'5", 200 pounds, and he's 20 years old. De La Cruz's stats are hitting .304, 28 home runs, 86 RBIs, 47 stolen bases, and a .945 OPS with 471 at-bats. Elly De La Cruz is only 20 years old, but it seems like we've been waiting on him to make his major league debut for years. Signing in the 2018-2019 international signing period, De La Cruz wasn't expected to be a standout, but standout he has. From the get-go, he has played hard, hit hard, and loved every minute of it. His power has continued to develop, and the way he plays and loves the game makes him so much fun to watch. He is still only 20 years old, but like the new trend these days, he is a huge shortstop. Standing 6'5", he plays a mean pinball at shortstop and has the arm to stick there. He has plus speed and has developed into an above average power hitter from both sides of the plate. If he packs on more muscle and more power, look for him to give O'Neal Cruz a run for his money as giant shortstop talent. Again, nothing against Kyle Farmer, but he appears to be just a placeholder for De La Cruz and CES and may find his way to utility spot in 2023. De La Cruz is a 5-tool package player the Reds need and will put butts in the seat with his entertaining style. He may do what Albies and Acuna have done for entertainment value in Atlanta and Cincinnati. So that is going to wrap up our list. I don't know if you noticed in this one, I did not include the cards in there because I know a lot of you guys had asked me to try to do some videos without including the cards. So I'm going to leave it up to you guys. Do you prefer the videos with just the prospects in them and not the cards? Or would you like for me to add the cards back in these next videos moving forward? I personally am in this for collecting, so I enjoy having the cards in there, but I want to make what you guys prefer. So you let me know down in the comments section if you want to see the cards again moving forward, or if you just want to continue with these prospect lists. So go ahead and like or subscribe over here, like down here, and you can watch my next video right up over here. Ball, never really cracking the bigs, and his great grandfather played AHL.